Welcome to Giggles and Goals, a place where we help you do what you're supposed to do. New mindset, clear goals, no procrastination.
And today we're discussing how a stay at home mom built a thriving virtual assistant business through the pandemic. So grab your coffee or your cocktail, depending on what time you're listening, and let's dive into how our guest juggled diapers and deadlines without losing her sanity.
I love it. But before we do that, we can't skip our one-liners. And our guest, before we give you her name, she's going to introduce herself with her one-liner. But Leonie, you go first.
Yes. Okay. So I really like my one liner this week. It's when life gives you lemons, I didn't just make lemonade, I built a whole lemonade enterprise.
Love it. Yes, yes. Okay, mine is in 2020, I didn't give birth to a baby, but I birthed a counseling career that's raising a tribe of mindset junkies, one affirmation at a time. All right, Madison,
Take it
what you
away.
got?
I'm Madison, and I help heart led entrepreneurs streamline, systemize, and scale their businesses so they can focus on their zone of genius while I handle the back end.
I
That's
like
good. Especially Zone of Genius. That's like last year, that was like my term of the
it
year. I
was.
loved it.
That's awesome.
All right. So, life has us. It's my turn for the who's at that?
Yes.
So, life has got all those twists and turns. You've got to hold on tight and off you go.
Okay, what
So
are our
this
clues?
person is an actress. She's a famous actress. She is an Academy Award winning actress. She's Australian. She was married to Tom Cruise.
Nicole
Oh,
Kidman.
Yes.
I was nowhere near. I was gonna say Katie Holmes.
Right. That's why I knew that was gonna be like a trip up, and then I was like, the last one's gonna get it. So yeah, the last one was that she was in Moulin Rouge. So I think
Oh,
yeah.
I love it. Well,
Yes.
without further ado, we are actually going to introduce you to Madison with a quick little snippet about her. Madison Virtual Mads is a Canadian mamapreneur who turned a pandemic layoff into a thriving virtual assistant empire. Since sobbing over her first Instagram post in 2021, she scaled a remote crew that keeps founders sane while she juggles her own play dates and project plans. When asked for her favorite quote, she said, "People will gravitate towards you when you are yourself, and you will attract the right people to work with." Well said, Madison. So without further ado, loudest welcome, Giggles and Goals style, to Madison.
Hello.
Hi.
Yes. Welcome. I'm
Thank
excited to
you.
get into this. So before I get too heavy into the questions, I just want to start off with a broad question. Like when you hit that wall in the pandemic, first tell your story. Let's go back and tell your story, and then we'll go into the questions.
Yeah.
Sure. So I am Canadian. I used to live pre-pandemic. I could see Niagara Falls from my house,
Oh
like
wow,
the
that's
Canadian
awesome.
side. Yeah. So I was in a very tourist-centric area. And I did a lot of serving, I did a lot of hotel work, that kind of thing. And then about 4 years before the pandemic, I found an administrative assistant job, and it was one of the best jobs I've ever had. It was the best place I've ever worked. It was truly like, businesses say, "We're like a family here," but it was genuinely like that. And then March 13th, 2020, I got my first positive pregnancy test with my now almost 5-year-old son and left with my stuff in a box that afternoon by 2 p.m., laid off due to COVID. And at that point, nobody really knew what was happening. They were like, it could be 2 weeks, it could be a month, we'll keep you posted. And I never went back.
Wow. Wait, so around the same time you found out you were pregnant, you got laid off. Like they
Same,
didn't know.
the
It
same
The
just
day.
same day.
The
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 same
same
exact
same
day.
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 My goodness.
What a
Did you
day.
cry? What happened?
Yeah.
So we were trying. So the surprise, it wasn't a surprise,
Okay.
which I was thankful for because my first thought was if I didn't know that this was coming, like the pregnancy, I would have even been more of a mess. And I almost told them in the meeting because I did start to cry a little in the meeting, and they had such big hearts that they were all crying too. So I wanted to just be like, no, 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 it's just because I'm pregnant. Like, we'll be
Yeah.
fine. Don't worry.
I mean, well, at least they had hearts about it because it was a tough time. It was like
Mhm.
Yeah.
nobody knew it was going to happen.
Yeah.
No, and everything was just so up in the air. And also too, like I was like 4 weeks pregnant, so
Yeah.
hadn't even seen a doctor yet, literally positive test in the morning. And then that afternoon, um, I didn't know if I still had a job. And my husband got laid off 2 days later.
No.
My goodness.
Listen, I can kind of share those sentiments. When I was in my almost second trimester, my husband got laid off from his job. And I'm like, my God,
What
the
are we gonna do?
baby. Like, what are we going to do?
Human coming. We
Yeah.
have to eat.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. And we
And
need
diapers.
insurance to have the baby.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah. Well, I don't
I
know if
think
that's an issue in Canada.
No, most expensive thing about hospital stays in Canada is the parking.
Okay. So,
And
yes.
so, see, that's the thing I love about. I've been to Canada one time, and since then I'm like, I gotta get back. I gotta get back.
Yes.
But I just love how your country and they, like the people, you guys like take care of each other. Like everyone was so friendly there and kind. Like even the Airbnb I stayed in, like I could tell they actually live in here. They didn't lock anything up. They just trusted us, and I was like, is this a Canadian way? Like this is jewelry that you left. Is that a diamond? Like it was like yes.
Why do you lock your doors? Like, what?
Right.
I'm like, I think Canadians are just nice people. Like so.
Yeah.
We
I
try.
love them.
Yes. So, yeah, go ahead. You have a question?
Yeah, so what made you decide to start your own business? Like why not? Did you apply for other jobs first?
Yeah.
Or did you immediately think entrepreneurship?
So, that I love that question so much. So, I have vivid memories of when I was serving in hotel work and all that before I found my admin job, frantically Googling work from home jobs that don't suck, you know, because it was all customer service or tech
Yeah.
support. And I don't want to do either of those things, right?
Yeah.
So, there's always been that piece of me that wanted to work from home. And I also come from a long line of entrepreneurs. I have a bunch of aunts, and my grandfather started like 3 businesses in his lifetime and stuff like that.
That's amazing.
So I always knew that it was possible for me. Pardon me, just one moment. I'm just getting over a bit of a cough.
Oh, no problem.
So I always knew that it was like an option, kind of. And then, so Canada has kind of a housing crisis going on right now, and we also have a daycare crisis. So daycare is essentially anywhere from $50 to $75 a day, Canadian. Yeah, so it's insanely expensive.
Okay, so that didn't
So,
translate to us. Sorry, we were like, what?
oh, sorry. Yes. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Yes, so it's crazy expensive.
Okay.
Um, I'm so sorry, guys. Ooh.
No,
I
that's
know
fine.
here, I don't know what the conversion is, but I want to say if $70 Canadian, would that be like $60 USD?
No, I think it goes the other way. So our dollar is worth
Yes.
less than yours.
Okay.
So let's see.
Yeah. So essentially was just super expensive. And it is
Mhm.
still super expensive. And that's the reason why my son was home with me until he went to school this year. Because it's just not economical at all.
Yeah.
So my choices were work just to pay for daycare, work evenings and weekends. I'm sorry, that's my husband.
Okay.
Hi.
Crystal and Leonie say hi. So my choices were to work just to pay for daycare, to work and serve. That's my husband. I love you. So work just to pay for daycare, get a serving and bartending job, and work evenings and weekends, and never see that crazy guy back there and be miserable. Or finally bet on myself.
Mm.
So saying it out loud almost 4 years later, 5 years later, it doesn't sound like a hard choice. But back then,
Yeah.
it felt impossible. I had no idea if I could do it. So I knew I had a vision, basically. I knew that I didn't want to have to work to pay to have someone else raise my son, because that's what it would be with the hours that we would be working. Drop him off, go to work, pick him up, put him to bed kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I know that that's a reality for a lot of parents, and I know that it's hard for a lot of parents, and I just like I have 2 older stepkids. They're 17 and 15, and they are the lights of my life. They're my little besties, and I love them so much. So I knew that with my youngest, that this was the only opportunity I was going to get
Mm.
to
To be
do
present.
the whole, yeah, because I knew we were going to be one and done. Even when I was pregnant, I knew that in my gut. And I just knew. I was like, this is the one shot I have at this. And I have to do it the way that I have to try,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah, I totally understand that that crossroads. And before we move on, I just want to do the math. I did the math.
Oh,
That's
yes.
about, so if it's $75 a day in Canada, that's about $53. It says USD. That sounds weird, but that's what it says.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, that
US.
sounds about right.
Okay. So $53, and then so that amounts to like $13.25 a month, which
That's a
is that's average out here.
which is a
Yeah.
lot.
That is average out here.
That's a lot, you know.
It is
Like
a lot. It is crazy.
yeah,
so
like you
that's
have to be making a lot of money for it not to feel like you're just working for daycare.
exactly.
And we were coming, so maternity leave, the way it works here in Canada is it's half of your income for either a year or 18 months, but it's the same amount, just stretched out over a year or 18 months, right? So we were coming off two like double layoffs. We were coming off the government assistance that was provided during COVID, which was such a blessing because I spent my whole pregnancy at home with my husband, essentially, right? So we were coming off of the double layoff, the government help, and then the mat leave. And I was like, I can't take on that expense right now. Like we need to catch up. We
Yeah.
need to get our feet back under us. I can't be paying almost $1,500 a month for daycare.
Yeah, right. Because so that brings me to when going back to that crossroads where you realize that you're pregnant now. This is your chance. This is your one chance to do it the way you want to do it. So how did those pregnancy hormones or that spirit that rose up inside of you, like how did that manifest and in the creation of this business?
So it's hard because as parents, it's just kind of like, well, I just did it. Like I looked at that little guy that has my eyes and I'm like, this is what we got to do. Yeah. For the five of us, because there's five of us plus a cat. She's my first baby.
Okay.
I'm surprised hasn't been in here. But yeah, so it's kind of like almost like looking back, you're like, I don't know. I don't know how I did it. It just got done,
Mm-hmm.
And I will say though, it helped me be a lot more present because I had to find pockets of time, right? So I was during like he went through a really bad contact napping phase while I was starting my business. So literally his naps, he'd be laying on me, we'd be laying on the couch and I'd be scrolling Instagram, leaving like comments and like connecting with people that way while he was napping and, put him down and do as much as I can until I heard the
It definitely forces you to be more efficient. When you only have nap time to get something done, you figure out real quick what you have to get done and you get it done.
when I tell you that I grieved when my son stopped napping.
How old is that? Because I didn't know that happened. How old is that?
Well, we dropped his nap a little early. He was almost 3, I think.
Okay.
Because he was just like not sleeping. He was taking forever to fall asleep at night, and every nap was a fight. So I was like, you know what? For both of our sanities, we're just not going to do this anymore.
Wow. Okay.
So that
I
became
understand.
screen time instead.
He's in school now, right? He's going to school?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That is going to open up the doors wide open.
I do have a question about how did we get to virtual assistant? Like out of all the businesses, why virtual assistant?
So I knew some of the best business advice I ever got was figure out what you like to do, figure out what people will pay for, and then figure out how to bridge that gap. Right. So I've always loved helping people. I've always, I went through phases where like I wanted to be a nurse. Turns out I hate blood. I wanted to be a teacher. Turns out I don't like kids that aren't mine.
Yes.
Same way. Well, that's not true.
Exactly.
I need to have a connection. Like it could be a niece
Yeah,
or
my niece.
nephew.
Yeah, my
But
nephews.
strangers, just random strangers' children.
Just not for me. My heart is just not built that way. And especially now looking at my son's kindergarten teachers, I'm like, you are in the right place and I love you all the more for it. Could never
That's
be me.
awesome.
I just don't have that constitution.
More people need to come to that realization.
Yeah, before they become teachers.
Yes.
Right? You know? So I've always kind of spent my life kind of in pursuit of just lightening people's loads and easing people's burdens, whatever that looks like for them, you know? And I knew what I was good at. I was good at organizing. I was good at customer service because I had spent so long serving and hotel manage, like front desk management and restaurant management and all that stuff. And I was Googling, frantically Googling, and this idea of virtual assistant came up. And I was like, okay, so what do they do? And I couldn't find an answer. And I was like, okay, so that's either really good or really bad that I can't find an answer to this question. And it turns out it's just because it's so open ended. It's like the choose your own adventure of
It
jobs.
really is. It really is. And you could pick whatever specialty you want. You could pick whatever industry you want. You could do all industries. You could narrow it down. So yeah.
You can pick whatever platform you want to connect with people on. Like I have a friend that she's been thinking about doing it. She's like, I really hate social media. And I'm like, okay, then don't post on social media. Your people won't be on social media then, right? Stick
So
with LinkedIn.
what's your niche? Like, what's your niche for your business?
So right now, I'm kind of in a little bit of a transitionary phase. And I started out with product-based small businesses. Right now it's service-based.
Okay. Okay. And so how's that since you started, that was in 2020. So it's been
2021-ish.
2021.
And yeah, 2021.
Okay, so it's been about 4 years. Tell us what the journey's been like, the ups and downs, the ebbs and flows.
Yes. Okay. So I got my first client 3 weeks after I started my Instagram account, and we still work together today.
That's awesome.
She's one of my best friends, Heidi. She'll probably watch this, so I love you.
Hi, Heidi.
Hi.
She bought me the necklace I'm wearing right now.
I love
she's
that.
she's one of my best friends, and that was kind of like a pivotal jumping off point because when I found her and we connected so quickly and also so authentically, I was kind of like, oh, okay, like this is a thing.
Yeah.
People do need this, right? And then I did a good job for her. At least I think I did. I hope I did.
Well, if it's 4 years later.
4 years
Yeah.
later.
Yes. Yes. People aren't just throwing money
And
down the drain.
exactly. So then I built the rest of my business primarily on referrals. And then once that started happening, the more connections I made, the more referrals I got, and then that kind of thing. So started out kind of rocky because I had no idea what I was doing. And I always say, like, if you're not continuously learning, then you're kind of doing life a little bit wrong. You know, I'm always seeking to learn new things and to up level, so I didn't know what I didn't know. Right. So you make the mistake of like undercharging and
You've been
over
there.
delivering and right. So I went from product based businesses to like I've done like email marketing, I've done Pinterest, I've done social media marketing, I've helped people with tax prep,
Wow.
that kind of thing. Basically, my whole thing at the beginning of all of this was whatever you need me to do that doesn't involve us being in the same room together, I can do. And even then, if you're close to me, I could probably
Yeah.
get to you. You know, give me some time and I'll probably get there.
So
So
go ahead.
yeah, oh yeah, no, you. Yeah.
So then what's your after doing it for 4 years, what's your thing that you like doing the most that you gravitate to that you could say like this is my signature service?
I love building out SOPs or like standard
Yes.
operating procedures. I love sitting down and saying, okay, what journey do we want our client, our customer, our patron to take? How are they going to find us? How are they going to know that we've got what they need? How are we going to connect with them? And then even beyond the sale, how are we going to nurture that relationship? And I just love taking what people have and building that out.
I can relate to that. I also have done my fair share of SOPs and handbooks. So yes, I enjoy that.
It's satisfying to like see it all come together.
When you like to be organized, it just feels organization is like that's my thing.
Yeah, me too. I love it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything has a place and yeah.
Go ahead, Crystal.
So tell me about your team. Is it just you? Do you have a team? Do you have
Yeah, so right now it is just me. I did try and build an agency. I kind of had some personal challenges in the last year, so kind of had to put that on the back burner a little bit. I do have my husband actually, he helps me when I need it as well.
he's your
And
first
I have
employee?
yeah, yeah.
So now that things are open, so once things opened up, did you have an idea of like maybe I should go back to work, or were things going so well that you were like, no, this is obviously where I'm going to continue?
I did go back to work, Leonie. I
You
did.
did.
Yeah,
Okay.
I have. I actually, so even right now, I am someone that if I don't force myself to be out in the world, I'll just retreat
Mm-hmm. Same.
and I'll be like, when was the last time I left the house? Because I got the
Yeah.
groceries delivered. I got the pizza we had for dinner last night
Listen.
delivered. Yeah.
Yes, yes. They'll have a backyard. Just let the dog out. Let the
Yeah.
kid, or me and the kid can go in the backyard, blow some
Yeah.
bubbles, come back
Yeah.
in. We're all good.
Consider enrichment for everyone.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So I work like less than part-time at a theater in a small town here, just serving wine to my regulars and stuff, a couple times a month just to keep me out of the
Social.
house. Um, but way back when, I went back to serving for a little bit, for about 5 months, 4 months actually, just on the weekends, and it was the most burnt out I've ever been.
Mm.
So that just kinda made me double down even more and say, okay, now that I've had this little slice, I was working with, I think I had 2 clients and I did a one-off project for one other client at this time. And I was like, okay, I've had that little taste. I've had the taste of being home with my little guy and the other 2 kids. And now I'm back out and now I know that
This
do
is
I
that.
not for me.
yeah, I want to bet on me even it was like, well, fine, now I'm
Double
gonna do it even
down.
harder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just thankful that I have the stick to itiveness, I guess, to
Yes,
make
the
it work.
resilience, exactly. When you see the freedom, your future having freedom, when that's on the line, it's like I have no other choice, because
Yeah.
now that you know that you can, and then you did, retreating does feel, a different, like you're
Yeah.
robbing yourself of that freedom
Yeah.
until you get to the point where it can make sense, where you can go into the workspace and then you have authority and control because you've built enough from your virtual assistant or your consulting career
Yeah.
to demand that level once you get back into the 9 to 5.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you were to talk about the perceptions that you had about entrepreneurship or even virtual businesses versus what the reality is, like what were the myths that you I guess faced and then you realized it wasn't quite what you thought?
Yeah. Oh, I love this. You guys ask such good questions. I love it.
Mm,
So the first thing that came to my mind was the story I was telling myself was that no one's gonna need that.
mm,
What do you mean people are just gonna hire me to do admin stuff for them for their business? Okay. 3 weeks later, someone was like, I desperately need help in my business. Can you help me? Right? So it blew that wide open. And I was like, okay, well, what else isn't really true then? Right? And when you start looking for those things, it's all in the story and the narrative that you tell yourself. Right? So the other one is, oh, well, business owners, they work all the time. And I don't want to work all the time. I just want to clock in and then clock out. Okay, that's a you problem. Right? Like, if you can't
yeah.
do that, like, obviously, there's gonna be times when you have to hustle your butt a little bit to meet deliverables or yeah, like, if you don't post, if that's where your market is, if you don't post on social media, then, yeah, you're probably gonna get a lot of leads rolling in, you know? But also, like, you can't think of it that way. You can't think of it as, like, working all the time versus not working. It's all in the kind of ecosystem, if you will, you know? Like, I will happily send an email at 10 o'clock at night if I'm up scrolling anyway, so that I don't have to touch my email until 10 o'clock the next morning.
Yeah.
It's all about balance.
And it's also that saying that people say, like, when you do what you love, you never work a day in your life. And
Yes.
I think sometimes people chase starting businesses that they think are making money, not necessarily businesses that they love or that they have a passion for or that they do well at personally. They're just like, oh, people are selling, I don't know, laundromat. They're opening laundromats. I'm gonna open a laundromat, but they have no interest in that. And so it feels draining. Like as an entrepreneur, they're working all the time doing something they don't. So you might as well work for someone else. If you're gonna start a
Right.
business that you have no interest in, no passion for, you might as well just go clock in somewhere and do that,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
less responsibility.
That's
know?
so
Yeah.
true because there are seasons where you will be, it's like very much so grinding up, staying up late and waking up early to get things done. But that comes in seasons. And when you are able to control it, then you are able to do less of the grinding. When you get to the point where you can hire yourself an assistant or a coordinator, it takes that weight off. So yes, you're absolutely right, Crystal. When people jump into things and they don't like it, and it's extremely draining. You
Mhm.
should go get a job if you're going to be
Yeah.
unhappy. It's
Yeah.
like don't be unhappy in your own business,
Yeah.
because
Like
then it
Yeah.
it robs you of those benefits.
yeah.
I
'Cause
think those
I've
are the people that are just unhappy either way.
Yeah, I agree. Because I've talked to
Mm,
people who have started businesses and stopped, and then they're like, "Oh, I'm never doing that." There's, and I'm like, "Well, the business you picked, you randomly decided to, let's say, be a virtual assistant, but you're not organized. You're not good with systems. So you're stressed doing your business, not normal business stress, but like functional stress because it's not what
Yeah.
you should have been starting a business in, right?"
yeah,
Mhm.
And so I think that's a difference sometimes with like entrepreneurs who push through and it becomes their life versus people who dabble in it and then jump back out.
Yeah.
It's what you chose to pursue,
and
you know?
Absolutely.
one more thing on this, I do think there's a difference. So if you're able to, for people who can buy a business like there's business that you sell online,
Like
digital businesses or
franchises.
whatever,
Mhm.
anything. You buy it. If you have the money to front load it and then get the people to run it and you're good at managing people, then that's a simple. You're not invested
Absolutely.
in the business or your heart isn't all into whatever it's delivering, but you're good at managing people and you can manage the systems of businesses, then I think that is when there's a trade-off there. But if you have to bootstrap it and build it from the ground up and you don't like it, mm-mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I would
Yeah.
love to know, what are some of the bigger challenges? I mean, I know you had the challenge of just doing it fresh. I mean, I don't know if the pandemic was quite over in 2020. It was over-ish in 2021.
Yeah. It had been just over a year.
Yeah, but things were still
Yeah.
a little shaky. The
Yeah.
everyone's I think everyone's societies, everyone's countries were still figuring out like,
What they
do
were
we
gonna
want to go
do.
outside again? Do we not?
Yeah.
Do we like people? Are we doing 6 feet? Like it was a lot of adjustment in 2021. But what were some of the bigger challenges that you faced during that time when you were starting?
So I am someone who gets overstimulated a lot. So that often looks like if I'm pulled away from something, it's difficult for me to pick it back up, kind of thing. So that is one challenge that I still do face today. So like my son's off on Friday for like a long weekend and I'm not sure how much I'll get done because it's the name of the game, you know? So that challenge there of just constantly like, Mom, watch. Okay, let me send this email. Like, you know, and also just the like you said, the uncertainty. Like the is this actually going to work? Because if it doesn't work, it's not just me that's impacted anymore. It's not just me. Like, I'm not just holding my future in my hands. Like, when I think about how differently it could have gone and how different even my son's personality might be,
Hmm, That's true.
if someone else had done the bulk of his care, you
Never thought
know?
about that.
Not that I'm not like saying anything bad about daycare at all.
Right.
I think that daycare is necessary. I think that it should be widely more accessible. And I think it's a fundamental human right. And I think that as parents, we need a village. And I think that daycare should be a part of that village, safe, accessible, and regulated daycare. But it's weird to think how different things would be if I hadn't decided that I mattered enough to try for
Yeah.
the first time in my life.
Yeah. And I relate so much to your story because when we had my daughter. My husband and I both wanted to we raise her basically,
Yeah.
and not have to put her in daycare, especially in the first 2 to 3 years. And it was a blessing for us because because he was laid off. It ended up being a good thing because he was able to be there throughout my whole pregnancy and basically her first year. He did some contract work, but it to sustain, but he didn't have to go in and find a job right away. And so, and I in that time of me in her first year, I listened to a lot of podcasts, and I read some books about the benefits of having the child with the mom in the first 5 years, honestly, and having them be really, really close. So even though daycare is great for some people, and it definitely should be all the things that you said, how do you think that your time with him and also working contributed to his upbringing and like his development?
Well, just first and foremost, just being able to be there. Like I I'm not a perfect parent by any means.
Nobody is.
And a lot um, and it's been challenging to do both at the same time, especially like we talked about with the nap dropping and stuff, but just being able to be here. I have been there for so much more than I've missed in his upbringing. And it's the little things, like those little moments where you kind of think to yourself, like, if I worked for someone else, like I would have missed that. Like even this morning, we are kind of having like a slow morning and he told a joke and it was so funny. And I'm like, okay, like I'm here for this. And, even like I can go to his school if they call and he's sick. I know I can go get him without having to worry about time off or missing days or getting fired because I'm missing so much work, you know? And just being present and being able to talk to him all the time. And he knows that I'm there, that we're there, my husband and I, because we are.
Yeah. That reminds me, the whole reason why my husband and I were on the mission for me to not have to go to work when we were having a baby is my very first pregnancy. I miscarried, and we were
Oh,
like,
sorry.
that's okay. But it's like it's a thing that happens. And we were like I had to go to so many appointments because I was high risk in my first trimester. So I would risk my boss sat me down and was like, you need to figure out with these appointments, you're gone a lot, you're gone for too long.
Wow.
And then I'm like, well, what am I supposed to do? I go to my appointment and they keep me there. Like I can't tell the doctor to speed it
Right.
up.
I have to go back to the office. Can you
Yes.
like,
You really wrap this up. Like, are
my
you crazy?
gosh.
And then it was really disheartening because my boss was a woman and she goes, well, everybody goes through this. All women go through this. So I don't understand why this is the problem for you, basically. And so from that, and then because I had to go to the doctor so often and I had to get more ultrasounds and things like that, my husband wanted to come and we worked in the same place and he also got a little like, we can't let you go, da 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 da. So from that point on, we vowed that no job was going to stop us from being able to raise our family.
Mhm.
And I saw a quote the other day that said, my child may not be able to remember everything, all the times I helped them, all the times we did this, that, and the other, but they will feel it in their nervous system. As they get older, that is
Yeah.
what will guide them,
It's true.
Yeah. Just that presence that like, because, they're so little and they're crying for their parents and they don't understand why their parents aren't there. And it's so hard. It's hard for everyone. It's impossible for everyone involved.
Yeah. It's a hard situation, but it's also, it's a fulfilling one. It's hard. There's hardships on both sides because
Yeah,
when you're
definitely.
trying to get an email out, you're trying to read something, you've read a paragraph 30 times and they're
Yeah.
like trying to, my daughter right now, I'm sitting at the table and she learns how to climb over the chair and
Oh, gosh.
get herself like a little kangaroo baby and crawl her way up to my lap.
I love her so
Like-
much.
How old is she?
She's almost 2.
Yeah, that's the kangaroo face. That's the climbing face. Yeah. Yeah, my son went through that too.
Yes, it's like
I can show
everywhere
you
I
pictures.
am, everywhere I am,
Yeah.
she finds a way to sit in my lap. Like, I know I don't understand.
Yeah. Yeah. And for my son, it was like, are you Evil Knievel reincarnated? Like, why are you trying to jump off of that?
Well,
No.
boys do things that I don't
No.
know why boys jump off of things and stick things in their noses, but they do.
Crystal, listen. My son comes home from school the other day and says, Mom, I have to tell you something. And I said, What, baby? And he said, I stuck an apple up my nose because I wanted to see if it would turn into boogers. He goes, I was doing an experiment. And I'm like, trying to keep calm, right? I'm like, because how big of a
My
piece of apple is
gosh.
up my child's nose right now? And
My
he's like,
goodness.
yeah. He goes, so I don't know what happened. And then he like went and like blew it out. And he was like, oh yeah, it turned into boogers.
So he had a piece of apple in his
Like
nose all day long.
all day
My
long.
God.
I was like, okay, so it's time to have a talk about our nose and our ears and how things do not get put in there.
Yes.
Thank you.
My
Oh my God, that's
goodness.
hilarious.
It's
though.
wild.
It's wild in these mommy streets. So
It
my
is.
niece always tells me the motherhood is the roughest hood ever.
It's funny.
Oh my goodness, he was doing an experiment.
That
Yeah, I love his creative side. We just need to find a safer apple nose involved
yes.
way.
Children's
Like, I
experiments.
gotta give it to you, kid.
Yes.
But come on.
But
Oh my God. Sorry.
before we get too far, I want to know. No, sorries. I want to know like what were like the logistical parts of starting a business in Canada. Like I don't know how many
Yeah.
Canadian
Let's talk about that.
viewers we have, but I know we have a process. It's sometimes a headache depending on what state you're in. But what do you
Yeah.
have to go through to start a business in Canada?
So, you have to, you don't really have to do, I don't want to say you don't really have to do anything because you should. So you can start charging sales tax after you earn, I think it's like 35 or $37,000 a year. So before that, um, you should register your business with both your province, which is like your state, and then with like the Canadian government as a whole. So I actually registered for the wrong thing when I started. So I called them to start charging HST and like get that set up. And I'm like, no, I already have a number. And they're like, no, you don't. That's wrong. You need to do this and this and this first. Essentially, you have to register yourself like federally and then provincially as well, just to kind of be like, hey, this is what I'm doing. But if you don't earn, like if you're in a business that doesn't earn a profit, which is pretty hard to do as a virtual assistant because your expenses and the barrier to entry are really, really low.
Right. You're almost like
Um,
immediately profitable.
yeah, honestly, like you have a laptop and an internet connection and you're essentially good to go, right? Then like your taxes are a little bit different and stuff. So I think if I were doing it all again, the first thing I would do is get my bookkeeping in order.
Okay.
Okay.
Do you have a team now, or do you figured it out yourself, like a
I
bookkeeper?
have someone I use.
Okay.
Yeah, I have someone I use. Actually, I have to call her, but yeah, yeah. So it's just not worth it because the government here in Canada, we're not friends. I don't like them. They're not very. They're not. They don't support small businesses, in my experience at
Okay.
least. They are not there to help. They are not there to make things easier. They are just there to get their money.
Mm.
Right?
Sounds
Which
like a
is
government.
true of right, right. It's true. It's sad that it's the way it is, but yeah, so it's
Yeah.
interesting.
I guess that's one of the differences being in America. There's a ton of resources for small businesses, and they very, really bolster it because it's really the backbone of our economy.
Yep. Yeah. And I don't want to like am I allowed to curse? I don't know.
Yeah, do what you want.
Okay. I don't want to like shit on my government because I love the Canadian government. Truly, I wouldn't want to live anywhere else.
Yeah.
I just have had some run-ins with some caseworkers that when I tried to explain my situation, because I'm literally just a girl, right? Trying to do all these hard things, right? Less than ideal circumstances sometimes, and grants are very difficult to get as well. Because I think it's down to like the government already funds so much here
Mm.
and does so much here that there's not many resources available for things like that, but you're correct. Like, I made my own job for the last 4 years. I've made my own employment.
I mean, what I will say is, although we are small business friendly, when it comes to any state or government workers or offices, it's different ballgame. If you're
Yeah,
calling
yeah.
and wanting customer service from a federal
There's
or
zero
state
customer
employee,
service.
just go in ready to fight. I think they
Yeah.
don't get long lunch breaks, or they don't get holiday day. I don't know what it is, but I've lived in 3 different states, and no matter what DMV or Department of Motor Vehicles I've been to, no matter what government, they're always cranky, mad, annoyed, rushing me, making me go get to, like, it's a thing. So that might
Yeah,
just
it's
be no
it's
matter
like
what
that here
country.
too. Yeah, I'm like, "You work for Service Canada, I can tell because 'cause you're miserable."
Yeah, I think same with
Jeez.
our state government people. And they
I
get,
Yeah.
I heard
know.
they get pensions over here. So I'm like, you get paid well. Why are you mad? But they're mad.
Yeah.
Listen, if there's anybody calling listening from anywhere else in the world, how's your government
Yeah.
situation?
What's it like in your public
Are
safety
there a bunch of
offices?
curmudgeons as well?
I thought you were gonna say if there's any government workers listening, don't be mad at us.
Oh, well, I don't care. They're
No.
already mad.
Well, tell us why you're mad. If you're listening, why? What
Why are you
happened?
mad?
What occurred? What do we do? You know?
Yes.
What made you like
If
this?
we don't come
Maybe-
in here, you don't have a job. So help me understand why you're mad.
So maybe it starts off with, and we're gonna go on a little tangent. Maybe it starts off with because everybody who comes there already doesn't want to be there.
Yeah.
So it's like when you're going, like, I'm already probably missing work, or I'm missing something that I want to do,
Yeah.
and so I already have like an attitude. So
There's usually a long line or a long phone wait.
And I know that I'm not gonna have the right form, and I'm gonna need to fill something else out, and then you're gonna get mad at me because I don't have the right form, then I'm gonna get mad at you for getting mad at me, and then we're just gonna be mad at each other.
Yeah.
what they
It's not gonna be
need is,
good.
like, it needs to be balloons. There needs to be music, confetti, a choir,
Snacks.
and make it a party. Come on now.
I agree. They need a DJ. DJ and snacks
Yeah.
would change the whole environment in those
Exactly.
offices.
Then it's like, oh, I'm about to go to the
I
DMV.
agree.
I can't wait to go to the DMV.
We need to start a
Let me get my
petition.
shades.
Hilarious. Okay.
But thank you so much for sharing your story. I've really, really enjoyed hearing about. I mean, it started off 2020 wasn't great, but you've pivoted, and you seem like you keep pivoting as the roles come. You're rolling with them, right? So,
Right,
what are your
yeah.
goals? Like, if you were to miracle question is what we call it in therapy, but if everything were to be aligned, you could have the career of your business of your dreams, career of your life. What would it look? What would your life look like? What do you want your business to be? What do you want Virtual Mads to be?
Yeah.
I want it to be a place where people can go when they feel like all hope is lost in their business. You know what I mean? I don't know if you guys have ever been there, but I certainly have,
Mhm.
where you're like, well, time to just pack it in,
Goodness.
you know? And I just really want people to know that, first of all, they're not alone in that. And second of all, there's someone that can help them and toss them a lifeline.
Yes. So do you have any plans to scale it beyond where it is now?
I don't think so. If I'm going to be very honest, I love the people I work with. I love the network I've built. I love what I do and who I do it for. And I love that, like you said, I can roll and change it, right? So my answer 6 months from now might be different. But I also know that I'm not a people manager. So I don't know if the agency model is the best fit for me.
I understand.
And I don't really know what other options there are. So I guess the answer to that question is I don't know.
Okay. Well, I do have I'll, after the show, I'll let you know of a resource I think would be helpful to help you get some
Yeah.
ideas on how to
Please.
scale your expertise.
Well, I can jump to the next one.
Yes,
So,
go ahead.
if you were to give, well, I guess we can do that later on Stand on Business, but I guess my next question is, if you were to do it over again, would you do it the same way?
Yeah.
I love that.
I would. I would not change a single thing, because every single thing that I've done, the good, the bad, the in between, the great choices, the choices that I immediately regretted, the
Mhm.
choices I regretted a year later, they all brought me to where I am now.
I love it.
That's
No
great.
And
regret.
I wouldn't trade where I am now for anything in the world.
I love it. Well, we're happy you're here with us today.
Well, I remember my
Yeah, so
question
nice to
now.
meet you guys.
Go ahead. What's your question?
Hit me with it.
What would you say to any aspiring virtual assistants who want to go on their own and let this be the introduction to their entrepreneurship journey? What would you say to them?
I would say there's space for you because when I first started, I had no idea how big the small business world is. And there's a seat at the table for everybody. And I would say that you can. You can, and you just have to believe that you can, and you just have to not give up.
Yeah,
I love it.
not giving up is the key because it's very easy when you send out an email and no one replies, or you send out, you do some marketing attempts and you don't hear anything, or you only hear one person. It's like really being able to nurture that. And I would say for anyone doing virtual assistant, the lifetime value of a client is more important than getting new clients, because that person, you get your one person, you deliver really, really well. Maybe you get a second person and you deliver exceptionally well, and then that it grows into something substantial, and then you'll figure out
Yeah.
based on the clientele you build how to scale it.
Absolutely, absolutely, because over the last 4 years, there's probably been about I would say I probably spent a good year of it, if not more, completely off of social media and just focusing on the clients that I did have. And I can tell you that those seasons of rest or whatever you want to call it are almost always immediately followed by a season of abundance.
Yes,
That's good.
definitely can fully relate to that.
I love it. Well, let's jump to our next segment. Standing on business. Things we wish we knew. So, do you want to go first, Leonie?
Yes, I'll go first. So back in 2020, I wish I knew how to take full advantage of a market downturn. Since then, I've learned that quantum leaps in life and business are preceded by seeming catastrophe. So normally when there's something catastrophic going on in the world, there is opportunity there for you to find the light and build off of that.
I would say things I wish I knew. I wish I knew that it's okay to be a part-time entrepreneur and work part-time. It doesn't mean that you're any less in one role or less in the other. It doesn't mean you're not an entrepreneur because you have a job, or it doesn't mean that you're not pouring into your goals because you are working as well. Sometimes it's just a necessity in the season, and it's okay. I guess gracious to yourself, especially when you have an entrepreneurial heart. Sometimes you can feel that type of way about having a job. I'm like, you're not as entrepreneurial as other people, but you are. So be gracious, and your journey could just look different. That's what I would say. Your turn, Mad.
I guess I would just say act as if. Act as if you already have it. Act as if you've already
That is
been successful.
profound, Madison.
I love that.
Act as if it's already yours, because then it will be. And that is what I wish that I could have hammered into my head a little bit more back in 2020. Because when I was terrified to post, when I was terrified to leave comments and follow people, I just wish that I could have told her that you're going to get to where you want to go by pretending that you're already there. You know?
I
I
love
love that. That
that.
act as if, that's like just by act,
Yes,
that's a t-shirt.
it
Act
is.
as if.
Hashtag act as if in the comments, y'all. Tell
Yes,
us what
like
your act as if thing
right.
is.
Act as if virtual Mads was your virtual assistant, because then
Yes.
everything will be all right.
Or she could be. Or maybe you want to hire her. So,
Exactly.
Madison, tell us how people can hire you, how they can find you.
So I'm on Instagram, Threads, and Facebook as Virtually Mads. Facebook is a little out of date, but I'm on there. And my website is virtuallymads.com. And the contact form is up there, and like my story and a little bit more about the exact services I offer and stuff like that.
Love it.
Yes.
Well, thanks for being here. Thanks for being
Thank
on
you
our
for having
show.
This was so fun.
Have
yeah.
fun with you. And everyone, you know what the next thing I'm going to say is. Please follow, subscribe, like, forward, all the things. Find us on all our social medias at Giggles and Goals podcast, or at Giggles and Goals. And you can also go to at Giggles. You can go to www.gigglesandgoals.com. We actually created a really, really cool freebie for you. Leonie's going to explain a little bit more, but the link will be in the bio.
Yes. So let me tell you about this wonderful thing you want to sign up for because it's going to help get your life in order. I've been using this and it combines the minds of me and Crystal so well together. It's our quarterly planner and mindset journal. And so it starts off with Crystal leading you through a lovely mindset daily worksheet. And then I take it over and lead you through how to set your SMART goals, how to do a SWOT analysis so you can know if those goals are what you need and make sure it's actually going to be effective for what you're seeking. And then it'll break down those goals into action items with sprints. So it sounds like a lot, but it's very easy, very simple. And if you want to make an impact for your 2025 this year, then you want to download that right now.
Yeah. And like we said, we're here to help you do what you're supposed to do. New mindset, clear goals, no procrastination. And this planner is pretty much giving you the blueprint for that. So find it in the bio. It's free. Just subscribe and it's yours. And until next week. Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Oh, we're not supposed to do that anymore. We're
Yeah.
millennials, right?
Stop.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.